Mick, great to have you here. And before we get into the show, the horror show that is the Biden administration just keeps rolling on. Why do I call it a horror show? Because Joe Biden, well, he sees dead people.
And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie. Are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
Now, normally on this show, we would just point to the president's stumbling, shuffling delivery and roll our eyes and wonder who's really running the show at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But there's more to this clip than that. Have a close listen again to this bit.
Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
Now, that Jackie he's talking about was Jackie Walorski. And guess what? Well, Jackie Walorski is no longer with us. She's dead. The 58-year-old Republican and two of her staffers were killed tragically in a car crash at the start of August when the driver of an oncoming car veered into her lane. Of course, this created quite a stir at the White House press briefing. Watch Karine Jean-Pierre, I gotta say, the hardest working woman in show business, try and spin the president's way out of this one.
What happened in the hunger event today? The president appeared to look around the room for an audience member, a member of Congress who passed away last month. He seemed to indicate she might be in the room. What happened there?
So the president was, as you all know, you guys were watching today's event, a very important event on food insecurity. The president was naming the congressional champions on this issue and was acknowledging her incredible work.
He said, Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? She must not be here.
No, I totally understand. I just explained she was on top of mind.
Really? Oh. Top of mind. Now, look, grief is a serious thing, and I don't want to make light of that, but I've never thought about my long-departed terrier Maggie and then tried to throw her a ball. Another reporter also had to go at this.
The late Congresswoman was top of mind for the president, and her family was expected to be here, and that's what he was thinking about. Why was he looking for her? I'm not trying to be snarky here.
As he was naming folks, she was on top of mind, and he understands and knew that he was going to see her family on Friday for this bill signing. Again, I don't think it's all that unusual.
So what's going on here? I mean, there's no way he didn't know she was deceased. After she was killed, the president and the first lady issued a statement saying that they were, quite understandably, shocked and saddened by her death. Now, I don't want to sit here and play armchair physician and diagnose the president's obvious ailments, though it must be said that forgetting that someone has died is a sad and common symptom of a variety of conditions associated with age-related mental decline. Obviously, though, the same media that analyzed every awkward step or drop of water spilt by Donald Trump is giving Joe Biden a pass on this one, just as they have so many other times, like when he became the only man in history to fall up the stairs of Air Force One. Now, whatever's going on, I don't buy Karine Jean-Pierre's explanations that Jackie Walorski was simply on the top of Joe Biden's mind or whatever's left of it. Frankly, I think she would have been better off suggesting that Joe Biden was simply rehearsing his lines for a geriatric remake of the 1999 M. Night Shyamalan thriller The Sixth Sense.
I see dead people.
Mick, you knew Congresswoman Walorski.
Yeah.
What do you make of what happened here?
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen it. I've been traveling, obviously, so it takes a while to get here. It's the first I've seen that. Interestingly, I have followed American news since I've been here, and I've not heard anything about that until I'm sitting here today, which means it's being buried back home. That's a tough clip to cover. It's a tough clip to talk about. Jackie was tragically killed in a head-on car crash last month. I'm a little bit sympathetic to Karine Jean-Pierre in that circumstance, because what else is she supposed to do? Because she can't come out and tell the truth, which is that he forgot she was dead and the guy's having problems. But that's the type of thing. I mean, listen, when we had Donald Trump in office, there was lots of times you walk down the hallway and go, okay, how do we fix this?
Yeah.
This one is not fixable. And I think the only way to sort of prevent this from becoming top of the issue of the 2024 reelect, if Biden starts to run again, is to try and bury it, because this is as bad as it gets.
But I mean, every single week on this show, there is something really bizarre and off. And I'm not just talking about, sort of slips of the tongue or gaffes or the kind of things that Donald Trump, when, you were working for him, would have said, which would fall under that category of gaffes, which are just truthful things that you're not supposed to say. These are real things that people would have real concerns about.
Yeah, and what they've been able to do, and you can do this with any president, you can sort of protect him or her when they're in the office, when they're in the Oval Office. You control when the media comes in. You control even sometimes what questions get asked. It's a very controlled environment. When you start to move out to a campaign, if Biden indeed does run in 2024, there's a lot less protection. And the fear, I think, in the Democrat parties is that what you just saw there is not the only time they're seeing it behind closed doors. And they are really scrambling right now to try and figure out, what do we do with this candidate next year?
And we're going to show some more clips a little bit later on in the show of some other things he's done and these weird sort of extemporaneous things that he goes off on when he's in front of the podium. But I guess the other thing, too, in a sense, he's fortunate, if that's the word, this week, because, of course, Hurricane Ian is the huge story that's going on. Now, you've got a place in Key West, Florida. You're from South Carolina. You're wearing your beautiful South Carolina tie there, and South Carolina is one of my favorite states in the Union. What are you hearing from your people on the ground, your friends, your family?
Yeah, my wife was actually stuck in Key West during the hurricane itself, and now apparently by the end of the day tomorrow, it'll be over my house in the Carolinas, so I'm getting it twice. Right. What we're hearing is that the Keys dealt with it fairly well. It missed a little bit to the west of the Keys. The storm where it hit on the west coast of Florida near Naples is historic. We're hearing about 150 miles an hour. You've shown some of the clips on Sky over the course of the last couple of days. This is a part of our country that knows how to deal with hurricanes. We get hurricanes all of the time in Florida. To see this level of destruction, discussion now about death tolls, maybe in the dozens or high 2 digits, that's very, very unusual, and just goes to the strength of this storm, because this is not a part of the world that doesn't know how to handle this type of weather. Yeah, and I mean, for viewers at home, I don't have the exact mass here, but you're talking 150 miles an hour. I think there'll be something like well over 200 kilometers an hour, which is quite extraordinary. That's really cyclonic, typhoon level type winds. But the politics, you can never now, because everything is political in America, you can't divorce that from what's happening. So there's this funny thing that's happening. I remember when Hurricane Katrina came along and George W. Bush was president. Well, back then, of course, everything that happened in Louisiana was George W. Bush's fault, even though the local administration hadn't repaired their levees and was completely incompetent and hadn't done anything. But now, of course, that Joe Biden is president, it's not his problem at all. It's all down to one man, a man we've talked a lot about on this show, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Hurricanes play just a unique role in our politics, mostly because of the time of year that we get them. They always come in September and October, and every 2 years we have elections just a couple weeks later. Hurricane Katrina played a huge role in the midterm elections of 2006. George Bush was extraordinarily popular at the time, mishandled a little bit of how to handle that hurricane, mostly because the Democrat governor of Louisiana and the Democrat mayor of New Orleans asked him not to come down for a couple of days, and then he was accused by the press of ignoring it for several days. And now you've got a Republican governor in Florida who's trying to deal with this. So they are going to try and, the left will try and politicize it. It saved them in 2006. But Ron DeSantis is a lot more capable than George Bush. I don't think this is going to have any political implications. Well, and, on that, we saw an amazing case of one of the members of the media just trying immediately, before the hurricane even hit landfall, to politicize it and stick this on Ron DeSantis. Let's have a look at what happened when Ron DeSantis was monstered by a reporter who was trying to stick the blame for the hurricane and the response on him.
FEMA Administrator Chris Wells said today that she acknowledged concerns that Florida, as was said, lacks response to the storm so far, and that
Whoa. Give me a break. That is nonsense. Stop politicizing, okay? Stop it. We declared a state of emergency when this thing wasn't even formed. We've had people in here, you've had counties doing, they've done a lot of hard work, and honestly, you're trying to attack me, I get, but you're attacking these other people who've worked very hard, and so that's just totally false.
What do you make of that?
That is Ron DeSantis, and that's why he's on the short list for a presidential nominee in 2024. He's a very capable manager. He's a very capable governor. My country used to elect governors for president all the time.
But he's not just a manager, though. He also, one of the things I think a lot of people really like about Ron DeSantis is that he punches back at the press when they try and, stitch him up in these various ways.
He's quick on his feet. He's smart. He's a Yale law grad. This is no dummy. He won't take this kind of guff from the press. So what you just saw there in 15 seconds is why so many people love Ron DeSantis. He's good at his job as governor.
But back to the president, I heard that he called a bunch of mayors in Florida to say, how you going or whatever. Maybe he was shopping around for retirement homes down in Florida or something like that. But he delayed calling Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, and that's a bad move. I mean, listen, this has been a very poorly run White House. You've got a bunch of people in here who don't know what they're doing. That's just stupid. They should pick up the phone, you call the governor, you do it, you check
look
the
gracious.
box. You look gracious. No one accuses you of doing anything. Another unforced error by the Biden administration.
Now let's talk about the big other story. Of course, we're now less than 40 days to go to the midterms. And the U.S. report is going on the road, by the way. And we're going to see you from the United States in a few weeks. What are the latest polls looking like? There was some talk where Democrats were starting to get a little bit, saying, hey, all the talk about abortion, all the talk about the January 6 hearings, all this sort of stuff, that's starting to bring people around. Is it, or are the Republicans still going to romp it in?
Yeah, polling in my country is really, really difficult to read. It has been for the last 10 years. What you're seeing right now, though, if you dig down into the numbers, is what's the most important issue. And the most important issue is still the economy. It's still inflation. It's still what Bill Clinton used to say, the economy's stupid. And that's what it is. Do people care about abortion? Yeah. Do they care about what's happening in Ukraine? Yeah. Are they going to change their vote on that? Probably not. I still think the Republicans do especially well in the House in November.
But what about the Senate? Do you think they're going to get...
Yeah, Senate, they got some difficulty because they got some candidates that probably weren't the cream of the crop. It's hard to run for Senate in my state. States are really big. They're really expensive races. Herschel Walker in Georgia has never run for office before. Mehmet Oz has never run for office before. Blake Master in Arizona has never run for office before. You've got a lot of people learning on the job, and that's hard to do.
But like with somebody like Mehmet Oz in Pennsylvania, he's going up against this guy, John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor. Now, we've talked about him on the show before. I mean, he's clearly got, mental capacity issues after a stroke, which is terrible. You don't want to make fun of that. But, you do have to point out also that he has basically been for defunding police, de-incarcerating criminals, letting murderers back on the street, while Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, the big urban centers there are just becoming these real sort of dystopian criminal hellholes.
There's been a fascinating wrinkle in that the last couple of weeks, James, in that they finally agreed to a debate, a single debate, but the Republicans were able to take it from 60 minutes to 90 minutes, which means that if Fetterman does have capacity issues from his stroke, you'll get a chance to see that. That's going to be the single debate. That may turn that election one way or the other.
Yeah, and I mean, already the polls are close. And, of course, the other big thing is that it is a turnout game. And one poll that I was saying, analyzed the primary turnouts for the candidates, and they found that Republicans had much higher turnout than Democrats, and that historically winds up being good for whatever party has the higher turnout in the primaries. Because, of course, in the U.S., you don't have to vote. And also, unlike here, people get an actual say in who their candidates are. Wild stuff, I know.